Welcome. My name is Rob Crompton. I'm Head of Personal Injury at Oakwood Solicitors. Thanks for joining us on this podcast. Today we are going to be talking about industrial disease, and I have with me Liam Hill, who is a solicitor and expert of our dedicated industrial disease department. Hello, Liam.
Hello, Rob, and thank you for having me today.
No problem. So we'll get straight into it. Liam, tell us what industrial disease is.
Well, industrial disease is such a wide name and phrase to use. It covers so many different injuries and ailments that people can suffer from. So the main ones that have built over the last few years are things such as hearing loss as a result of excessive noise, things such as carpal tunnel syndrome, hand-arm vibration, which can all be related to vibratory tool use. There's also things such as your general repetitive strain, so your tendinitis, your tennis elbow, some back injuries and other ailments as well. We also have your inhalation injuries, so you have your asthmas and your COPD, something that is more widely known as your asbestos and your mesothelioma. All of these are covered quite widely, and there's many other conditions as well that people suffer from that they don't particularly identify as industrial diseases, but are quite commonly are.
And who do these sort of diseases affect, and what occupations fall under these at risk?
They can affect quite a variety of people. Traditionally, it's your workers, such as industrial workers, so those that are in sort of welding or fabricating roles, those that have historically been in steelworks. But it can affect others as well. So those that are doing simple office roles who can end up with repetitive type injuries, and those that are in less sort of manual tasks as well. However, those are the most common, quite frankly. Anyone and everyone can be affected from an industrial disease even without knowing it. For example, your asbestos and your mesothelioma, you could have worked in that environment and have very little idea until you have the condition that you were exposed to it.
So somebody who might have suffered one of these injuries, what does the claims process involve for them?
The claims process involves for them is at the outset speaking to us, getting some initial advice, which we do give free of charge at the outset. We then go ahead and have you sign a bunch of documents, which allows us to investigate on your behalf. We take quite a bit of time to do that due to getting items such as medical records and other pieces of information to put a picture together of what has happened and how it's happened to you. We then make the other party aware, so the one that has caused you this injury, we make them aware of the potential claim. We then have you see specialists, so medical experts that will diagnose you with a condition should you have it. We then look to try and hopefully resolve your case by reaching some sort of settlement. However, if we do require it, we will move on to litigation and court process should we have to do that.
And what are the odds of me having to go to court, do you think?
It's highly unlikely in a lot of these cases. The usual figure I would quote is 99% of these cases don't end up at an actual trial, albeit we can end up very, very close. And when I say very close, we can end up a week before, and then your matter is resolved really swiftly through what we would hope is a good sort of monetary settlement for you.
So what happens if somebody still works at the employers? I mean, can they still make a claim, or do they have to have left?
They can still make a claim, and I certainly wouldn't have it put anybody off that works at an employer thinking about a claim. Don't let that put you off looking into it. There's no ability of the employer to actually let you go or fire you for bringing a claim. However, we all know in reality that employers can be a little bit funny about these things. But again, if there are any issues that arise in that respect, the employer do start to be a little bit untowards with you, then do seek some employment advice off the back of that. And here we do have that sort of complimentary service if you certainly end up in that position. But do not let it put you off, especially because there are strict time limits. don't put off inquiring at the very least about this sort of issue.
So what are those time limits? Can you tell us a
In
bit about
any
that?
industrial disease case, it's like any personal injury matter. You have 3 years in which to make a claim, albeit in industrial disease, because they usually come on much later than when you're exposed to the substance or hazardous material or whatever it may be. That happens when you more than likely realise that it was related to that exposure that you have the said condition.
Right. And what sort of compensation do people get for these types of injuries?
The amount of compensation ranges very, very widely, and it all very much depends on the condition that you suffer with, and it can depend whether you have any other losses, so be that loss of earnings, you've been off work as a result of the injury, whether you have any care requirements in the future, and the severity of your condition, which at the outset of the claim we know very little about until you are actually diagnosed from a medical perspective, which then we can put a value to it. However, rough values is we always expect to try and recover you above £1,000 at the lowest end, which can go into the tens of thousands of pounds should it be a more complex and serious condition.
Right. And have you got any sort of case studies, any examples of cases that you've run?
Yeah, the more common case that I've come across in recent years is ones for hearing loss. Those are usually your industrial type worker, for example, in a steelworks, so to speak about a recent client that would be welding, fabricating, and so on. That person, the one I'm thinking about in particular, had a hearing test at work, which was a bit, a hit and miss, I'll be honest. And he ended up coming to us about 12 months later. We ran his case all the way through the process, had him diagnosed with hearing loss and mild tinnitus as well, and a requirement that he needed hearing aids in advance of usual for his age. And we ended up getting right before trial, having a site visit as well, which was really interesting, going to the site and recording the levels because they were still an active company. We got right to trial. And literally the week before, we ended up achieving a £10,000 settlement for the gentleman, which he was very, very happy with, and trial wasn't required.
So noise is the sort of most common one, do you think?
It's been one of the most common ones in recent years, but we are finding now that other varied conditions are coming up. So, for example, we've recently had a pneumococcis matter come up, which the client went on to develop some other psychological conditions as well, and that was as a result of dust from shot blasting, which his air mask had failed. He'd inhaled the dust over a brief period of time. It was about a week. He only did that for about 4 days every month, so it was a very hit and miss exposure, albeit he ended up with the condition, was hospitalized, and then ended up with the psychological conditions which required treatment afterwards. Again, that one didn't get quite as far and has been dealt with nice and swiftly, so in about 18 months, which is great. And he ended up receiving nearly a £20,000 settlement in the end, which is great for him. Right.
So that sort of brings me on to what are the charges, legal fees, who covers the cost of those?
So the legal fees are all on what you would see on the TV every day as a no-win, no-fee arrangement. It has a professional name. We call it a conditional fee agreement. And that stipulates that we ask for 25% from the compensation that is recovered. That's to cover any shortfall in our costs, and is as a success fee on us being successful for you. And that is all we ask for. We don't ask for any money out of your pocket at any point, or any client's pocket at any point.
So it's no risk.
It's no risk at all.
So why, as a prospective client, would you come to Oakwood Solicitors?
Well, Oakwood Solicitors is an excellent company that's grown over the years. We have got a particular specialism in industrial disease that survived many a number of years, and we've carried on it's getting close to 9 years now that we've had the department. We have a very dedicated team of 3 solicitors and a paralegal who do the work day to day. We know our area inside and out, and if we do come across anything in particular, we certainly make sure we investigate it and make sure we cover every aspect of your potential claim. At the outset of any claim, the best reason to use Oakwood is that we do give an entirely free consultation, which can be usually a telephone call, which can last anything between 10 minutes. If we can't help you quite swiftly, we'll tell you. It can then last up to a good hour, an hour and a half, depending on how complicated things are. And we're more than happy to discuss that fully in an entire context to understand what's going on with you, to make sure we can help you if we can, and if we can't, we'll hopefully signpost you to what and where can help you.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Liam. You've been really informative. I hope that anybody listening to this has found it useful, and if they have any questions, if they feel that they've been affected by an industrial disease, that they will contact us. We'll put the link onto the bottom of the vid, and if anyone's got any inquiries that they want to make, just contact us through that method or visit our website. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Oakwood Solicitors is a multi-service law firm. Our award-winning team is here to help you whatever your query may be. Call us now for a free consultation on 0113 200 9787 or visit us at www.oakwoodsolicitors.co.uk. Oakwood Solicitors, traditional law, modern ways.